Hey guys, welcome to another voiceover tutorial. My name's Sakimi-chan, and this voiceover tutorial we will be talking about wet surface effect. I got the suggestion from one of you this month, so I think it's pretty interesting, and it's something that I paint often, like wet skin effect. However, I've never really done a tutorial on it, so I think it would be a good opportunity to do one right here. So the suggestion was pretty specific, and amongst the suggestion, they asked for hair, clothing, and skin wet surface effects. So because of that, I went on Adobe Stock and I bought some of the stocks here for reference. So the first reference we're gonna cover is for hair. So there wasn't really that many good reference for wet hair. However, I found this one image that I think is pretty close to what I'm looking for to show you guys. So with wet hair, I think I might actually do like a little caption for each of them. So for the wet hair, usually, oh my, okay, the text was really tiny. It might be hard for you guys to see, so I'm making it bigger. So for wet hair, it clumps together. Also, I'm not really sure. It clumps? Not really sure if I'm writing it right. So for wet hair, oh my gosh. Together. Wet hair tends to clump up together. Also has a glossy finish at the tip if you look closely, and then drips water. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, I find that wet hair has like a blue tint in the highlight. So, oh my gosh, has. Sorry for the bad English here. Alright, it's gonna be a little messy, but as you can see, there is a bit of blue tint in there, the highlight area, as well as outside. It's a little more reflective in each of the clump, and there's usually water droplet. Here's a picture of dry hair. Dry hair tends to be more loose and they don't really clump together that much, like at least not into small sections, and they're very nice and shiny here. Yeah. So we're gonna start off with the hair, and then I'll be looking at t-shirts as well as skin. So this is gonna be interesting. Alright, let's go through it. So for this tutorial, I'm thinking of just painting normal hair at first, and then we're gonna try to transform it into wet looking hair. Okay, so usually for my other tutorials that are kind of like this, I usually start off with something already, but this time we're gonna start off from scratch. So let's get to it. During this time, I'm gonna just be recapping some of the stuff that I have talked about in my previous tutorial on how to paint hair. I've already done, I think, one voiceover tutorial and many step-by-step video tutorials. However, my old voiceover tutorial on hair was pretty apologize for the quality, because back then I did not know the recording device I was using had a bug about it. So the bug was, if you record more than a certain amount of time, let's say an hour recording at a time, it would bug out and desync the audio. So that's why it's kind of messed up. And yeah, don't get that one if you're thinking of getting my hair voiceover tutorial. I believe that once I become better at drawing hair, I might update another voiceover tutorial on hair. So that is the plan. Alright, so right now, this is 100% zoomed in. Right now it's still not big enough, so I'm gonna just go and resize it even bigger. Let's make this 4000 pixels. I also got a question from, I know I've been asked this a lot, I'm gonna answer it right now. Yes, it is great if you guys can paint on a very big canvas. I would recommend like at least 1 to 2K for either width or height. So definitely paint with that size. Okay, so I'm gonna paint the hair. I think I should make these into groups so I can keep track of them easier. Group 2, so that's step 2. That's the face. And I'm gonna make a hair layer. Usually with hair, I just like to start off with basic shape, as I always like to do this approach because it's a lot easier for me to work with. And I don't know about you, but I'm not very patient with line art. With line art, if you make a mistake, you gotta go back to the lines and redo them. But with painting, you just paint over it. So that's why I kind of prefer the paint style. Anyways, let's go with this hair right now. Let's make it short hair as well, just like in the reference. And just for the sake of, you know, I want to encourage you guys to use reference when you can. Now you don't need to buy the reference. I'm just doing it because in case I just take pictures from Google, I get in trouble. And just to be safe, I bought the reference. But definitely, if you guys need reference, just look up some reference on Google and use it on your spare time. And of course, if you're using reference from an artist, just credit the artist once you are done to avoid all that drama. Yeah. Alright, so this is the hair I'm going with. Alright, so block in the basic layer, all done. Step 3. Step 3. So I also got a question from another one of you. I'm not sure if you will be watching this voiceover tutorial, but I think it would be nice for everybody else to hear this as well. So I got asked a question, how like about general like female workforce in the concept art industry and also gaming industry as artists and such. So right now I'm just putting shadow. Okay, so again, just to refer back here, this is gonna be like the dry hair. So as you can see, she has a very large shine patch, like it's very broad and soft looking, and then it divides the highlight into little strands. So we're gonna duplicate that by making the highlight in this area right here. So that's step 3. Alright, so back to what I was talking about women in the art industry, in gaming, movie, etc. As far as I know, there are more guys in the art in the concept art industry than women. Not really sure why, because you know, back when I was on this public forum called Gaia, there was a large artist community, and you know what, most of it was female. So I was kind of shocked when I found out there was more male artists in the concept art industry than female. So that was a bit weird for me. I just found that out, but I guess it makes sense, right? Because I know now there are more girls playing games, but back then I guess guys played more games. I think that's why. But anyways, so as far as I know, girls get treated pretty much the same as guys. I mean, unless if you do crappy work, they'll tell you you need to start improving. Same with guys, it's pretty much the same. However, I have heard, so I used to work in Bauer and I felt like I was treated like pretty equal. Not sure if they paid me any less than if I was a guy, but I felt like I was treated pretty fairly. Like, you know, I did work, they liked my work. If they did, they'll be like, good job and stuff like that. Pretty nice. However, I've heard from one of the lead writers who was a Czech. She told me, well, when I left BioWare, she told me, good for you. Well, she messaged me actually when I started Patreon. She was like, good for you that you're making such a good living. And she told me that it's hard for women to get paid this much or something like rather like that in the art industry. And that was kind of a shock for me because I always thought, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a guy. As long as you're good, you know, people will hire you as long as you have a good personality. Usually in concept or gaming industry, when they look for people that work good in teams, people who accept feedback easily, and people who are, you know, generally easier to work with, that doesn't create a drama, stuff like that. And I think that applies to a lot of the game companies out there. I mean, I've heard some stuff from other game companies where they say it's kind of like high school where, you know, you form a clique and yeah, pretty much high school drama stuff in certain game companies. Yeah, I'm not gonna say which one it is, but know that, yeah, that is the case. However, I still think that working in a concept art environment for either gaming company or movie is still a lot better than office job because it offers you a lot more freedom. Also, you get to hang out with people that are into the same thing as you, so that's always nice, right? Anyways, just gonna talk briefly again about how to enter the industry. Actually, I'm gonna save that for next time. I'm gonna start painting something. But yeah, let's take it from the hair. So now I have a very basic rough looking hair that actually kind of looks wet a little bit towards the end, but hopefully we'll be able to make it look a bit wetter after. Also, I would like to briefly work on the skin. So the skin, pick a shadow color. I put it down as the neck because, you know, the head is casting a shadow onto the neck, so we gotta put some shadow there. Also, shadow casted from the hair onto the face, forehead, etc. Trying to make it as easy for you guys to understand as possible because I know a large part of my fan base is, you know, just starting out, and that's why a lot of my tutorials are kind of catering to them. Also, I don't feel like I'm like professional enough to be teaching more advanced artists. I like to teach beginner stuff because one, when I first started out to paint, it was so difficult to find beginner tutorials. I just wanted to make my tutorials as easy to understand for people who are starting out as possible. But yeah, just very quick shaded the face. But I'm not gonna go too deep into this because this tutorial is gonna be on how to make wet effects. So that implies that you guys already have a character or some elements painted somewhere and you just want to add that wet effect. So that's why I'm not really going into too much detail about how I'm going to paint the basic model that we're going to be using. Feel free to take the sample that I'm going to paint for you guys. feel free to take that and just start off with the base that we're gonna start off for this exercise. So you guys can start up from step 6. Just take the whole layer and just follow along from here. Anyways, also hope you guys don't mind me talking about the things. I know it's kind of off topic, though it does have to do with jobs in the art industry. Well, from my experience, I'm gonna share a little bit with you guys. Okay, I believe this is enough. Just gonna paint the eyebrows and make her have, actually maybe her eyes are closed. I think that makes more sense, eh? I don't really draw that many closed eyes in my pieces, I've noticed. I think this is pretty decent. Okay, just gonna finish that off really fast. Actually, I want like to add some blush on her. So yeah. So if you're wondering about how to paint portraits, I do have another tutorial called Portrait 101. In fact, any of my Portrait 101s are good if you're just starting out and you want to kind of dive into the world of Photoshop and how to paint portraits with Photoshop. I cover a bunch of stuff, including stuff that I'm doing right now. But yeah, really fast, going to shade that up. Fill in some of these areas as well. Alright, so I think this is a good model. Alright, so now we're gonna start to make her hair seem more wet. This is the fun part. I think that I need to extend my canvas a little more, so I'm gonna do it real fast. So this canvas is gonna be very big. Okay, so step 7. Alright, so let's go back to the wet hair, and just a quick recap. Wet hair likes to clump together. It's glossy at the tip usually and drips water droplets to add more wet effect and feeling. Has blue tint in the highlights, as you can see, blue tint in there. Why it's blue? Because usually the lighting in the room or outside it emits a blue light, and that's why it has a blue tint. So first of all, let's work on making her hair feel clumpy. How do we do that? Well, if you look at the clumpy hair, usually even if your hair is straight, it's going to have more curve and more organic feel to it. So first of all, let's just kind of change how the hair strands look to something more organic and curvy. So let's do that. And of course, since it's wet, it's going to be in clumps, in small clumps. So it's going to be a little difficult to do. I would recommend going over strands with your eyedrop tool and pick color from what you already have and just paint along, right? So pick some highlight, create that clump look here and there. So right now this area needs more small clumps, so also needs to be less straight. Yeah, when it's wet, it's not gonna curl up like that. It's going to be damp, and it's gonna be damper and more tightly wrapped around the skull. So if you ever come off the shower, you'll notice that even if you have frizzy hair, your hair just goes down. So gonna erase parts of it to create that small clump look. Again, removing all the curls that she once had, kind of like this, and erasing certain areas so we can create that clumpy look for the hair. like this. So this can be any character. I think it would be fun for you guys as well to experiment on this if you have the time. Just take one of your old pieces if you guys have one, or just use this one and create these clump look, and they're gonna be curvy a little bit as well as tightly wrapped around. So just for the sake to show that it's really wet hair tends to stick to your face sometimes, so I think maybe something like this will make it feel a little more wet. Of course, we can't neglect the clumps, so get to the clumps. Make it more curvy-ish and more straight and more tightly wrapped around your head. Okay. So we're just working on the silhouette for now, but if you take a look right now, her hair does look a little bit wetter, but of course we're missing that nice wet highlight, so we're gonna cover that in the next step. At least we're making some progress. So step 8, we're gonna work on the inside of the hair. So let's start by kind of clumping up some more up here, making just putting in some lines to simulate that strand texture. Again, try to keep the strands small because they are clumped together like that. And usually wet hair tends to be a little dark, just a little bit darker, and maybe one of it is sticking out. I've noticed with my wet hair, I have like random strands of hair sticking out, just like unkept, right? This actually looks like hair that you haven't washed for days as well. You know, the oily kind of hair. You know, you got strands flying everywhere, and it looks very unkept. I think it's also good if you guys don't want to use my reference, just after you get out of the shower, take a picture of your hair. I think that's a pretty good reference. But yeah, now the step is just to work on upper area of the hair, like so. And make sure to use a small brush so you can paint out all those little details, like I'm doing so. Okay, I think that's a good one. So now it looks, this upper area looks more fitting with what's going on down here. If you look, if we zoom out, yep, it's starting to look like her hair's either wet or I don't know, she got curly hair, but we'll change that later once we start adding the highlights. So that's step 8, just to work on the upper area of the head. Now let's pass on to step 9. Alright, so step 9, I'm gonna start by locking down the layer. Now going to adjustment. So now we're gonna make the hair slightly darker because you know when the hair is wet, it's usually a little darker. Okay, darker. Just making it a little darker with my adjustment window. Like this. Okay. Next thing, I'm gonna create on a separate layer. We're gonna be working on highlight. And assuming that the light source is emitting a blue light, which is usually the case when you're either outside and the sky is blue, or you're inside the room with like one of those light bulbs that emits a blue light. Anyways, let's just assume that because I think it's easier to demonstrate wet hair this way. So I actually would like the canvas to be a little bigger. Okay, this is gonna be a very big file, so I think when I create the tutorial pack for this, I'm gonna include a smaller image and a full-size image, so that not really sure how capable the computers are for you guys, so just in case I'll include that. So let's refer back to the reference real fast. So as you can see, there are like grayish bluish tint inside the strands that are really dark, and then you have the light source scattered around here. So we're gonna try to emulate that, as well as near the tip it's very sharp. Well, I mean here it's a little squiggly but it gets the point across. So now we're gonna work on the highlight very lightly. I'm painting very lightly. If I go at full strength it would look solid, but that's harder to work with, so very lightly at 5 pixels, which is just a smaller pixel. We're just gonna, I think I need a smaller one. So we're gonna apply the highlight. Also you can eyedrop tool that and paint it along like this. Okay. So just a bit of highlight in there. I think it needs to be bluer, like that color. We might need to work on this a bit more. Maybe a bit here, because there's a lot of dark surface there. Put some highlight everywhere. So we're gonna do this in layers. First we're gonna use a blue color. Sorry about that, that was my phone if you heard that. But so again at the tip it should be very, gonna create some really straight strand tips. Excuse me. And yeah, here too. Now blue might not work so well because the hair is still kind of brownish. We need darker. It needs to be a lot darker. Oh my god, that's way too dark. Okay, hold on. Adjusting it to the right size. Okay. So now the blue. Sometimes you might feel that it's a bit too much, so gonna erase some parts of it. How do I know it's too much? If you zoom out and it doesn't feel right, then you're probably on the wrong track. And I feel like I might be, but for the sake of this theory, I'm gonna carry it out. Also, I think there needs to be more dark color as well in these area strands. So gonna highlight some of these little highlights with shadow to balance it out and make it look a little more glossy. So if I zoom out, it looks a lot wetter. That sounds dirty. If you zoom out, you can kind of feel that it's starting to have that wet feel to it. So the general rule is just to have a darker color with the bluish highlight tint. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my highlight color and start adding some more. Now we can add like a sharper bluish tint. Now I'm just adding like random strands here and there. Okay. I'm not really sure, but I think we're going the right direction. We can always kind of adjust it a little bit as well if it doesn't feel good or right. But I think the darker color definitely helps a bit. So just briefly added some highlight, the blue highlight inside the hair, the wet hair. Gonna bring into step 10 here. Okay, now we're gonna make another layer called extra highlight. I'm doing this because just to be safe, I'm gonna make another layer so you guys can like switch it on and off if you want to take a look. So this one we're gonna focus on the top of the head. We're gonna bring in some highlights here. So a bit on the side, maybe a bit here. So I'm putting highlights here because it makes it feel like her what's it called, it highlights her hairline a bit more. And of course you can go in and erase some parts of it just to create a bit more of that glossier look. So if we zoom out, on and off, so with it, it feels a little bit more glossier and a little bit more wet. So we're going with that. Now I'm gonna go in with like a brighter color, and we're just going to kind of go in and like little strands here and there, very lightly. And of course here too. This part is an area that can easily make your hair look a lot wetter. So gotta highlight that properly. And of course, bring in the dark color. Add a bit of dark color next to the highlight to make it feel high contrast. A lot of the wet surface effect can be achieved with just basic high contrast and glossy feel. So right now, very quickly, if we zoom out, you can start to feel that very high contrast glossy feel. And of course, you gotta know when to scale back, of course, and when to add shadow, and that will take time, and also take time and practice. The longer you draw, the more things you see, the more things you observe from references, you will be able to retain certain information that just subconscious, right? So a lot of this is that. So this layer switch on and off. Okay, so it's starting to get there, but it's still not quite there yet. So I'm gonna add another, actually I'm gonna make another step for this. I'm going to go for step 11. Step 11. Okay, step 11. One more layer for highlights so that you guys can toggle it on and off very easily. Want to make it as clear as I can for you guys. I always hope that towards the end, if you guys watched it fully, if you learned something, then I think I've accomplished something good, something I want to accomplish. So now I'm gonna try to add highlight here in some of these clumps, and as you can see, I'm trying to follow it in this sort of motion. So hopefully it's gonna pan out. Okay, it's actually not too bad, but I'm gonna go back with a darker color to kind of cut some of these areas off, like this. So if we zoom out, okay, it's looking a lot better, actually, a lot better. So always zoom out to see if you notice anything weird going on. If you zoom out and you see that it's getting there, or you're getting the feeling, then you're probably on the right track. So get that done. And here as well. Okay, so it's starting to get there. If we zoom out, yeah, it's definitely getting there. So now all we have to do is add the droplets. Droplets are interesting. So it's kind of like, okay, I got it. Alright, so droplets, you usually have a highlight, which we're gonna use the color white because it's really easy to get eyedrop to the background. Just do a little dip here, just a little circle around. So I'm gonna do a few droplets here and there. Of course you can't really see on the white background, so because of that I'm just gonna go with a darker tool and do like droplet shape. Alright, and then we're gonna put a dot in the center of these droplets. Now if you zoom out, yeah, it's definitely feeling a lot wetter. I think it might be too much, so I'm going to erase some of it. Okay, maybe just that one. Okay, so I erased some of it because it was getting too much. We'll just have a few droplets. And of course, the last step, I'm just gonna merge everything together and we're gonna do a bit of editing, see what we can do to kind of tie this whole look together. Oh, that is a lot of steps. Alright. So step 12, once you are happy with everything, just merge everything together. So hair on one layer, face on the other. Hair. Let's play around with the contrast and highlights. Let's go with this color. And going into airbrush mode, use soft light and create a bit of shine in certain areas to bring highlight. And I'm gonna briefly work on the face real fast. I'm gonna use the airbrush. Real fast, gonna give her some more shadow. Just very fast shading around the eyes, on the eyelids, underneath the eyes, add some shadow for the hair. Add some deeper shadow there. Add some shadow here. Okay. And underneath the mouth. So very quick, all done with just some airbrush and a darker color. And of course I'm painting very gently. Okie dokie. Safe. Alright. This is complete. The hair section is complete. Now let's take a look at what we did. So basically all these steps are just so we can get to a result of, you know, just normal hair, and then from that point we're gonna work on the hair to transform it into a wetter look. Of course we observe from the reference and gather notes, observe and take in the main points of how wet hair looks compared to dry hair. So with that we concluded, you know, wet hair, they tend to clump into smaller chunks, also a little bit more curvy, and of course tighter on the skull, you know, like sleeker. And then of course we kind of painted similar feel up here as well, and then started our long process of adding highlights. So again I layered on highlights on different layers just so it's easier for you guys to toggle on and off. And last but not least, we arrive add our conclusion, which is this. So yeah, that's it for the hair. Now we're gonna move on to wet clothes. Okay, wet clothes. Let's take a look and make some points about wet clothes. Okie dokie. Let's see. So wet clothes tend to have a darker. Oopsies, that's sharper. Darker tone to it. It usually has a darker tone than if the clothes was dry. As for example here, as you can see, if it's a t-shirt like this, that's not really transparent. If it's wet, it's a lot darker. And of course, if it's like a light shirt, usually if the shirt is thin enough, if the fabric is thin enough, it becomes transparent. It becomes transparent and shows the undergarment. Oh my god. Whoops. Whoopsies. Undergarment. Oops. Undergarment or skin. Alright, so there we have it. Alright. And also it likes to create random pockets. Pockets of folds. As you can see from this example right here, it's creating like random pockets of folds, and if it's not pockets, it usually like sticks to the skin or the garment, and you can see it clearer. So see what's underneath clearer, sorry. So that's pretty much it for wet clothing. Usually they all react similar way. If the fabric is thin, it reacts this way, and if the fabric is thick, it's usually a lot darker. Okie dokie, so yeah, that's pretty much it. And without ado, we will start the wet clothes part. For this, I guess I will be painting something like this. Let me think about it, how I can do this. I think I'll create something like this, like a wet shirt or something, just because it's so much easier to demonstrate when it's a wet t-shirt. So let's get started. Okay. Let's go with a similar step. So I'm just gonna sketch something real fast. I'm gonna fill it out and paint it out. Again, the main focus is for us to transform it into wet surface. So I'm not gonna be talking too much in detail about how I'm going to get to the dry version of it. But let me pick up where I left off. I actually kind of forgot where I picked off. That is one of the hardest part about recording while you paint. It's kind of hard to keep track. But anyways, let's go with a girl, and she's going to be wearing what can she wear? Let's see. Okay, she's gonna be wearing let's go with a tank top. Okay. Okay, that means the neck should be here. As many of you notice, I like to be very inaccurate and very like whimsy in my, I mean not how do you say this? Very unclean in my sketches because I like to focus everything on painting. That is why I usually don't pay too much attention to this. But anyways, let's start off with, actually let's make it like a tank top that does like this, and you can see the underneath. Actually, you won't be able to see the underneath. Like a really loose shirt. And then stomach, shorts. So the shorts gonna be like this. And these shorts are gonna be like a thicker fabric. Oh god, sorry, it's kinda trying to be as more specific to the clothes as possible. Possible. Of course, gotta clean that sketch every now and then. But yeah, she's gonna be wearing shorts that's gonna have a deeper, darker color. And this shirt will be a little transparent. It's like a summer tank, I guess you could call it. But yeah, something like this. Now I'm going to rotate this real fast to check if my sketch looks a little off. Yeah, it's kind of tilted that way, so I'm gonna move it back real fast. I like to adjust my sketch sometimes, so if you saw that, some of you have been asking me how do I manipulate my sketch. So what I did was pretty much I like to flip it back and forth, horizontal and back and forth, right, to see if there's anything weird going on, because you know when your eyes get accustomed to one view, it's hard to tell if you made a mistake. So as you've noticed here, right here, this part of the neck is longer than over here, so obviously I did a little whoopsies. Just gonna fix that real fast by moving the neck. Anyways, so yeah, after that, if you wanna like tweak it around, you go Control, hold it, and T, which is the shortcut for free transformation. Of course, you can also access it here. So when you click this, you can kinda manipulate it in a way. However, there's other options of free transformation. So when you put Control T, what you want to do is kind of use your tablet pen, press the little button, and this will appear. And then you select, these are all options. So scale, rotate, skew, distort, perspective, and warp. I like warp because they give you a few points, and if you move them around, or these grids, it kind of manipulates your pixels a lot, so you can have fun with that. Anyways, that's what we will be doing a little bit. Okay, I think this is good. And we're going to rotate this again just to check if it's okay. Once that you feel that it's fine, add some more details to the shorts. Once you feel that it's fine, okay, we're gonna go with this. So let's get started with this. Okay, so we have gonna create a layer. So this is step 1. Step 2 of this, gonna try to cover this as fast as possible. We don't want to be focusing on this too much, but just to show you guys, give you guys a little demo of this. Again, I like to use the lasso tool to just pick up that nice color easily. Just going to fill this up, so I need to select it, of course, going to go into these little pockets with the lasso tool. But so there's different options for selection, and you have select, add on to what's already selected. Sorry, excuse me. Minus areas of what is already selected, and this one is reverse selection, which is weird. I don't really touch that. But yeah, these are 3 modes that you can play around with. Now after I selected everything, I'm gonna inverse. Use my fill tool, pick a color. So I'm gonna start off with a skin tone. Let's go. Oh my god, I guess I got that wrong. Inverse. Now fill it out. So that's gonna be our color, or at least the base for it. So I'm gonna try to get this done as fast as possible. Okay, so very quickly I'm gonna go and let's make this shirt like pale blue. Just shade it really fast here. And I want her bra to be dark. I think I'm gonna give her a sports bra. Okay, and then the shorts are going to be navy color. I think navy color is a really nice color for summer shorts. And it goes well with the color white. Okay, so quickly shaded it up. Turn down the lines real fast. I'm gonna add some very fast shadow. So going down like this. Trying to create some texture for the shirt. Okay, something like this. Some shadow here. And then for the shorts, I think on the side like this, I think I'll be making the shorts a little lighter actually, and get some of that nice bleached outline look. On the corners there, I kind of like those type of shorts, even though I don't really wear shorts. I prefer my jeans. Jeans are so comfy, and also sports pants. So get some nice lace here. Okay, there we have it. Now I'm gonna merge this down real fast. I usually like to work on one layer. Okay, so that's step 2. Move it over. Step 3. Alright, step 3. Gonna start adding highlights now. So let's start off with the lasso tool. Again, the lasso tool is really good. Just selecting shapes that I don't want my brush to touch. I just want this area to be affected. Actually, the other side too. You know what? I'll just select most of the skin, so here as well. It's a really fast way to just add shadow. So let's get started. I want her to have slightly tan skin. But yeah, let's start with the shadow quickly. Adding shadow to give the impression that her arm is kind of bent over there. And same shading on the other side. Of course, there's many ways to approach shading. It's just, I think this light source is a little easier to demonstrate, right? And then the neck, probably put some shadow under the neck, because I know that she doesn't have a head, but if she did, the head would be casting a shadow onto her neck as well as onto her shoulder blades. I mean not shoulder, collarbone, yeah. And then of course, a little bit of cleavage is always nice. Cleavage, I mean, honestly, it's pretty fun to paint. I know by now a lot of you know that I draw NSFW and I'm not gonna try to avoid it. I mean, it does have a bad reputation about it, which I don't think should happen, but then again, yeah, it happens because of the crimes, right? And a lot of people blame it on that, but honestly, it's just human nature. When you're old enough, you just I don't know, you're just attracted to certain things, right? I'm sure a lot of you get what I'm saying. But yeah, for me as an artist, it's actually really good practice. NSFW is really good practice for anatomy. Um, and I can say for sure that before NSFW, my anatomy for art, I feel like it wasn't like as good, or at least I couldn't really explore a lot of options that if I did, if I knew how to draw NSFW, because I mean, like, the human body is pretty nice, if I do say so myself. I really enjoy drawing nudes a lot of the times, and I feel that every artist should draw some NSFW some point in their artistic career, because I don't know, it really helps with building skills about anatomy. And you know what? At first it was really hard to draw NSFW, and I'm sure some of you have noticed that my NSFW started out more anime-ish inspired, and now I'm aiming for a more realistic feeling. I just prefer realism a lot, a bit more, like, well, not complete realism, but like more realistic. Anyways, because honestly, it's a little bit easier for me to look for reference that way through online pictures. Yes, I do that. I mean, I feel like if I don't know how to draw something, I'm gonna Google it, because I want to do a good job on it. I want to improve on it, so yeah. Anyways, I feel that NSFW has changed my view as an artist. Okay, and my skills as an artist. I feel more comfortable painting skin now. So I just did a quick paint over of the skin real fast, and now I'm gonna inverse it. Gonna work on the clothes a little bit. And of course I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but as you can see, I'm just abusing the lasso tool to select areas and making it like a nice clean look. Sorry, what? I mean clean execution for the shading. And gonna put a bit of texture here. And then down like this. And okay, now here this time. So again, going with that bleached sleeve look. And gonna put some texture here. I also like that ripped shorts look, so I'm gonna go with that. I really dig that ripped fabric look. It gives your character's clothing so much more personality, I feel. And it's nicer to look at, I feel. Okay, now I'm gonna add some small details. Here and here. Gonna add some lines. And bottom here. Create the band around the waist. And then Maybe add a bit more shadow here real fast. Actually a little darker and make the brush a little bigger. So this is the downside to working with a small size here, because my canvas, I mean it's big enough, but if you consider just this if I crop only this character out, that's a small canvas size to work on. Usually you would want this shirt to be full screen on your canvas or your monitor. That's a good size for painting. But since this is a tutorial, I'm not going to make it like super detailed, because you know, I'm sure you guys have stuff to do and this is already long enough. I try to keep my tutorials under 3 to 4 hours, because I think that's pretty insane to just sit 3 to 4 hours just watching this. I'll make it short, and you guys can even fast forward if you want. Just skip to the part where I start making wet textures, well, trying to create wet textures. I'm going to inverse once again, just to add, going to multiply mode, just to add shadow here. Okay. I'm gonna add some in this area too. Now I'm going to deselect, save. So that's step 3. We're almost done. Almost done with a nice base to start our tutorial with. Okay, step 4. Now it's time to shade the stomach. Now just select that real fast, and also time to shade the leg. Neku. There we go. And here, just creating some random shapes here to make it feel like it's ribbed. Okay, so now we have everything selected. Just gonna go with put the mode back to normal, because I don't want that mode. Of course, gonna make sure that the shirt feels like it's casting a shadow down here, and shading the hips, the stomach, and going down, shade the, what's it called, the hip bone. Yes, the hip bone. And going to paint the belly button in there. Okay, so there we go. Got that done. I'm gonna create some drop shadow here. Oh, she's got a very curvaceous hips. I do like that form on a woman. Really, curves makes it a bit more fun for me to paint. Alright, so with the leg, apply some shadow here. If you're wondering what brush I'm using, still the same standard round brush. I always use standard round brush in all my voiceover tutorial. Well, most of them. I like to include that brush because it's just such a basic, simple brush, but you can do so much with it. But with hardness to 55%, which is kind of like a medium range from, it's like an in-between of solid round brush and airbrush, which allows you to blend it a lot easier. So just very gently blend it in like this. Okay, you know what, this leg is actually a lot thicker than the other leg. I will go back to fix it once I'm done with this. Okay, I think I'm just going to start adding a bit more thickness to this leg as well. I do like thick thighs, they are fun to draw. Like thick, powerful thighs. Okay. let's make this area a bit thinner. So now I'm just gonna clean up real fast because you know there's a little bit of lines on the outline. Just wanna clean that up real fast. Alright, now that that's cleaned, okay, going to go here and change the hips a little more. Make it a bit more curvy. And the hips. Something like this. Okay, now I'm going to this is still kind of rough, but we'll use that as an example. Gonna just flip it over to check if there's anything weird. Okay, so the shoulder here should be a little more extended over like this. Yeah, kind of like that. And the neck should be like tilted a bit more here. Something like that. Okay. And the arm. As you can see, I don't really want to work on the arm, so her arm is kind of behind her legs. The advantages of making a tutorial, kind of cheating a bit. I mean, kind of cheating a bit on the extra work with this approach. But yeah, I want to make it as I try not to drag it on too much for the tutorial. So yeah, you guys can definitely fast forward through this, because it's just me trying to prepare a base for you guys to work with if you choose to use my base as an exercise base to start. Okay, her chest is a little uneven. I think this should be fine. Maybe move the cleavage a little bit over here. So I just select it real fast and we're gonna merge it down now. So there you have it. Now I'm gonna rotate the layer. Oh no! I don't like this. Okay, here's a more faster solution. Select everything, go to filter, liquify, play around with it. Usually my strength is at 10, so not to overwhelm stuff. Let's make her a little fluffier. Brush to 200. Okay. Say okay. Alright, I kinda like this shape, yep. We can blend it in real fast with the smudge tool. Again, I show this all the time. A smudge tool with scatter on view. Here, 30% off. Make sure the strength is not too high, and you can pretty much blend it in very nicely. It's a very easy way of blending in. But don't go too overboard because it can get very airbrushy if you do it too much. Just select certain areas to blend. You have to be a bit selective about areas you want to blend for this. So yeah, there we have it. So just blended stuff in very fast, save it, and going to adjust real fast. Gonna give it, yeah, that nice tanned look. And clean off some of that hard edge like this. Okay, just using very small brush to clean off rough edges. Okay, so there we have it. We're gonna just use the space for the wet effect. Okie dokie. So while I restarted the recording just so that they wouldn't have the audio issue, I just fixed the thighs a little bit to make them a little thicker with her thicker frame. Just wanted to point that out to you guys in case you saw any changes there. Alright, so let's start off with step 5 where we're gonna start applying that wet effect. So let's get started. Let's go back to our reference and just quickly read up the recap. So wet clothes have a darker tone. If the fabric is thin enough, it becomes transparent and show the undergarment or skin. Also, it likes to create random pockets of folds just like this. So let's keep that in mind and let's kind of get to work. All right, first we're gonna make her t-shirt wet. So first off, a good way to show that it's wet is kind of include what's underneath her garment. So let's create wet effect. So we're basically just gonna paint. So gonna show her a sports bra here. So this is a very easy way to make it seem like it's wet. Something like this. Okay, so quickly painting her sports bra. And of course, we want to paint in that thick frame that she has. Actually, probably want to extend this here. And paint also the skin here. So now it's already getting there, but that is just the first step. We're gonna be elaborating on this after. So for this part, it's kind of like this. Okay, that's her bra. Let's quickly paint out some shadow of it, but we don't need to put too much detail into it. Let's just quickly do some shading variation. Very quickly, I wanna make a little design for her sports bra. Like that. It's very minor details. And maybe it's got like a nice logo. Because you know, they usually have some interesting logos on sports bras. Especially sports brand. Quickly just shaded out how her bra would look. And the silhouette. Okay, now let's work on the jeans. So for the jeans, it's very easy because since it's a thicker fabric, all we have to do is make to make it look wet is just to include darker stains. Also, it might look like she peed herself, but I mean, we still want to create that wet feeling. So right off the bat, black all the way, and of course do not paint at full strength. Just make sure that it's darker. So immediately I'm gonna try to avoid the crotch area because it just looks like she wet herself, so gotta keep that there. So yeah, just make it a little wet looking. Okay, so there we have it. Already it's starting to get there. But that is just step 5. Now step 6. I think that making clothes transparent is clothes wet is one of the easier looks to achieve. So that's wet effect 1. All of it will be done through painting. So no special layer effects, nothing. Just gonna be painting all the way. Wet effect 2. So now what we want to do is, if you look at here, the clothes likes to stick closer to your skin, create folds. Also, selective area where you can see the wet clothing, depending on how tightly the clothes sticks to your skin. So let's aim for that. Okay, in that case, we're gonna have to have areas where it doesn't show what's underneath, and of course we need to have the clothes clinging to our skin. So I'm going to paint her skin tone a little bit more here, and we gotta make sure to have areas where it's folded onto her skin. So now we have to clean this up to feel like it's sticking to her skin. Oh gosh, it's gonna be a little more difficult, so gotta extend this a little bit. And extend this, so because it's clinging to her skin. Again, let's paint a bit of her anatomy here. Like that. And of course we have to remove the shadow underneath because it wouldn't make sense. Because we want to make sure it feels like the shirt is kind of sticking to her skin, so it's got to be no shadow casted on top of it. I mean, sorry, I'm trying to elaborate. There shouldn't be any shadow casted from the t-shirt onto her skin because the shirt is really tightly now against her skin, something like that. So this is the part where a bit of reference would come in handy, or you as an extra challenge, try to think and see how it would. I'm pretty much just going off this from how it would be by referring, I guess, using a bit of logic. It's kind of hard to explain, but I guess it just comes with experience. If you paint long enough, you'll kind of have a basic, you probably have a more of a reference library in your head where you can go in there anytime and dig around and kind of feel. It's like a gut feeling. Oh my gosh, it's hard to explain, but I'm sure some of you know what I mean. But yeah, right now the clothes is sticking very tightly to her skin, so gotta make sure that it feels that way. Also gonna put a bit of shadow here because that's where I feel like that this is where it sticks to the bra the most, and then it lightens up a bit more. So the closer this light fabric is to her bra, her undergarment, the more you'll see that what's underneath. So the darker the color will become. Yeah, and I'm guessing this area also sticks a lot, so gotta paint that in. Of course, gotta remove that shadow, and I forgot to put a general shadow here, kind of from the casted, the head casting a shadow over her shoulder, and I think it adds a layer of niceness. So here, as you can see, it's not as dark as here where the shirt is clinging to her cleavage, because it's kind of hovering over it in this part, so it's lighter in color. It's because the garment is not sticking to that area. Oh, sorry guys, my English so bad. Hopefully you guys still understand what I'm saying. Yes, so now I'm trying to add shadow to areas where I think her body is formed. So there's a bit of dip here. and around here too. Whew. Okay. So now if we zoom out, this is before, after. So already it looks a lot more translucent and a bit more wet feeling. Can put some here too. And kind of like these. Put some here, a bit darker, like that. And again, this shirt is clinging to her skin, but obviously it's a little bit wobbly, bit organic feeling. And okay, yeah, I think this is going good. And as for the shorts, it's not as bad. Let's go back. It's essentially just a little bit darker looking, but we can increase the wetness later on in the next step, which I'm going to create step 7. So I think, yeah, definitely wet clothes is a lot easier to put paint in compared to the wet hair, because the wet hair you have to think about how you're gonna do the highlight. Hair is definitely a tricky thing to paint wet. Okay, now we're gonna add a bit of highlight, which will for sure have that feeling that it's wet. Right now I'm just kind of highlighting some of those pockets random, and maybe have a bit of it at the edge. Maybe this shirt can, you know, have a bit of glistening. Have a bit of glossy look to it, but I guess not too much. And I think the reason why it doesn't feel complete is because the skin is not participating in looking wet as wet. Oh my gosh, the words I use. Okay, but now time for the shorts. Just gonna put some really glossy look here using this kind of way. Put some highlights on the folds, and sometimes when you see really wet jeans, you sometimes, if it's really wet, you kind of see a bit of that shininess that comes with the wetness. So yeah, that's pretty much it for t-shirt. And I'm just gonna, actually never mind, I'll do it later. So I want to add a bit of wetness to the skin. However, I think I will be doing that. I'll come back to this to do add wetness to the skin after I have completed the how to add a wet effect to the skin. So I'm gonna come back after that section. But for now, let's move on to step 8, where we can just merge everything down. So once we are happy with it, we merge everything down. So now it's one layer, and now we can edit. So gonna select this area, which I would like to edit a little more. And yeah, that area. Copy, Control C, Control Shift V to paste it down. So, and now I can play around with it like that. So maybe it could be a little lighter, darker, doesn't matter. It's up to you how you wanna play it off. I'm gonna make it a little brighter. And then the shorts, really fast. Copy, paste, brightness, contrast. going to make it a little more contrasty. Turn it down if I think it's too much, and there we have it. So yeah, I'm gonna come back to this one after I go through the wet skin part. Yeah, as you can see, the hair part really took a lot more time to do than the clothing. The clothing is a lot more simpler, I feel, and it looks. I think the transition is a lot more obvious as well. The hair is a lot more subtle and detailed, I think. Alright, so now let's start with skin. Okay, here, yep, definitely. Next is skin. Skin, I found some really good references for skin on Adobe Stock. So the first one is an example of like you're pretty much drenched in water, like when you're showering, right? And this is an example of what it could look like. It's pretty interesting. This one is a fast one. I guess this is when you're really intense in workout, or just spray yourself with a little bit of water. It'll probably look like this. And this one is a close-up of the face of how it could look when your face is sprayed with little droplets of water. And as you can see, all three have like a bit of shine to them, and that is the principle of applying wet texture to surfaces. It's a lot more contrast, right? So let's go ahead and write all that down. Skin wetness, more shiny on certain areas. Okay, that's one. Next one, I think it might be. Is it too small? It's kind of small. Sorry about that, guys. Paint drops of water, water on skin. Some drops of water on skin. Again, it has a dark, oh my gosh, shark again, dark tone in certain areas, just like how it affects thick fabric. I think that's pretty true. Also, it can have a grainy texture, grainy, shiny texture, just like in the third portrait example reference, yeah. Okay, so skin is pretty fun. It can also be a little bit easier, or if you want to spend more time adding details, it can be a lot more time consuming. Okay, so let's get started. Wet skin is one of the favorites I like to paint because, you know, it's shiny and I like shiny things, as do a lot of you guys, I'm sure. Okie dokie, let's get to it. So dark, so we're gonna go with another dark skin, because dark-ish skin, like tan skin, because I think it's a lot easier to show shininess or wetness through it. Let's start off with, let's make it sexy. Let's make this one sexy. Do not flame me, guys. Do not flame me. Okay, actually, let's do it the same way we did with the skin. With the hair. Alright, so silhouette. She's going to be kind of facing us. She's going to be looking this way. I think maybe she'll have like a little ponytail because it's a little bit easier to do. And her shoulder is going to be kind of like tilted like this. Something like that. Okay. Now gotta go on erases. So yeah, we're going to start off with a basic. I gotta paint out the basic model for you guys, so if you want later on you can use it for our wetness exercise. So yeah, it's gonna be a little faster. Just making the shape at the moment. Okay. Maybe tilted a little bit like that. And put a bit of arms in there. Actually, you know what? I'll use this as a base to show you guys how to approach adding wetness to somewhere close to the head and bust area, and then I'm going to show you another example with this one. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay, so step 1. Okay, step 2, let's paint. I'm gonna try to paint this as fast as I can. I should pick a topic to talk about, but I think I'll just do a quick walkthrough. So, dark color, really fast. I won't be able to explain it too much in details, but basically I'm putting in shadow. Have your what's it called? Damn it! It's so hard. What is this called again? Damn it. Sometimes I just loss of words. Okay. As I mentioned before, cleavage is damn it, it's fun to paint. Okay, and the hair, I'm thinking of making it like a side bang. I think it's a lot easier and also simpler. And just highlighting the bone structure. Yeah, definitely a little easier, so I just quickly went in and shaped it really fast. Like that. And I'm not sure if I'll be drawing the face or not, but real fast going to outline the features. Probably need to flip it over to draw the face. And of course she's gonna have her eyes closed. Kinda just wanna make the main tutorial about how to add wet textures, so her face is gonna be a little simpler. Adding some basic shading. Drop down eyebrows. I mean, not eyebrows, gosh. Drop down dip of the brow bone. The chin. The nose dip. Okay. I would like to make her hair darker. Okay, really fast. Really fast, really fast. Come on. Okay. I should be putting on some really relaxing music to go with this. I'm barely talking right now, trying to focus. It's a little harder to do commentary when you're a little bit more focused. Really fast working on her eyebrows. Okay. And then her chin and the neck. The lines for the what's it called? What's it called? Shoulder blades, or what's it called? Neck bone? I forgot what it's called. I just said it the previous tutorial, previous section of this tutorial. Anyways, so just quickly working through it. Gonna save it real fast in case it crashes. I don't want that to happen again. That was pretty bad. Gotta make every preparation possible to avoid that from happening again. Okay, now gonna work on that skin a little more. Can also actually let me create. I kind of want to create a bit more shape here. Like as if she's taking a dip in the water, and this is what you see on top of that water, creating that shape. And of course, cleavage is fun to paint. I mean, even for female artists, I think a lot of artists can say that even though you're a girl, you like painting cleavage. It's just fun that way. And of course, male cleavage is also fun, but you know, it's not as curvy as female chest. I mean, unless it's one of those really buff muscle builders, right? Okay. Paint the eyes real fast. Dip it in. Create that nice dip. I think I covered a little bit of this in last month's tutorial about how to paint different skin tone and ethnicity, where girls have with nice prominent brow bone usually has this nice highlight at the end. It just looks nice and pretty. And of course the nose. Gonna make her nose a little simple. And the lips. Very simple and fast. Just gonna blend that in right off the bat with the solid round brush. And then the cheekbone. Again, trying to go with pretty basic shadow in, but you know, always good to have a bit of shadow underneath the neck to show that the head is casting a bit of shadow on the neck. Gonna lock that in, put some highlight over here. No, it's not very obvious, but girls have very small Adam's apple, just really tiny bit, or practically non-existent. However, it's still nice to have that little bit of a curve there. Wow, her neck is really long, I just noticed. so I'm guessing the shadow will be casted from here. I think I might make her head a little bit lower. Her neck is very long. Of course there are people with long necks, but just for now we're gonna make it a little shorter. Okay, so that's step 3. Actually, let's make the shadow like here, because I still want to put most shadow on this side. And the highlight on that side. Okay, and let's add a bit of details on her hair. I'm actually really enjoying this. Something about painting portraits really make it a lot more fun for me. It's just the most important part of a character is the face for me, of course. But ever since I started to be more realistic with my style, I'm beginning to feel that body language is just as important. But I mean, I'm still kind of true to my roots, which is portraits, so I still like to make my character as nice and appealing for myself as possible every time I paint them. Okay, almost there. Safe. So that's step 3. Alright, let's keep going. I'm gonna start blending in some of those shapes just with the smudge tool. It's pretty easy to quickly do a quick blend job on any of your pieces by using this tool. It's quite efficient as well, time saving in fact. But of course you don't want to overdo it. Also, I recommend only using this tool after you have a good base going. After you've kind of outlined the shadow with a hard edge brush, this should only be used after that to kind of balance out the hard shading with a bit of softness. Okay, now I'm going to go in with a blend brush and start just shading in some of that. Just changing the shading in here. Sorry guys if I'm not explaining as much. Pretty much trying to get that shade right. So after you've blended it with the smudge tool, generally I like to go back with the round brush and paint some more and add some more shadow if possible. I know that I'm focusing a lot on the cleavage because the cleavage is actually has a really nice shape, and I think it would capture the can't believe I'm saying this, the wet texture very well. Feel like a little bit of a pervert saying that, but I think all of us are a little perverted, but it's fine, don't be shy about it. I'm a pretty open pervert, I would say. I wouldn't shy away from stuff like this, to be honest. I mean, it's natural, and right, you don't have to be shy about this. Be open, unless of course your family is more conservative. I'm lucky that my friends and my family aren't super conservative, so I can be as crazy as I want and as vocal as I want about what I like. But yeah, you guys already know from the stuff I draw. Actually don't think it's a bad thing whatsoever. And plus feel like as an artist, if you are into, you know, the human body is pretty. So yeah, gotta appreciate the shapes. All shapes, of course. Of course, I mean, you have your own preference, and so does every artist out there. Okay, so I'm just trying to blend it in. And as you can see, my hardness is 25%. You can tweak around with that. I'm going in the shadow, add a bit of highlight. Maybe going here, give her a bit more shadow around the eyes. Ooh, I really like strong eyebrows as well. I think they look great. Also makes a character look more youthful with thicker eyebrows. Of course, there's a thing called, I mean, it could be too much, but a good amount of eyebrows is always pleasing to the eyes. Okay. So, anyways, if you guys watch this and you have anything that you want me to cover in my next voiceover tutorial that is, I mean, like a topic that you want me to talk about that is not related to the tutorial, like what the stuff I was talking about at the beginning of this tutorial. But I mean, it has to be related to art, of course. Anyways, yeah, just cleaning up the ear a little bit. Zooming in on her. I'm going to quickly shade out her hair. So a very rough highlight. Again, going with that nice broad highlight. Just like here, see? Broad highlight and soft, broad and soft. Now let's give some variations to her face. Have a bit of warmness on her nose and cheeks. That's usually where redness would come in on your body part, or at least for your face. That's where you get flushed. So her lips are a little pouty. Add a bit of lip gloss to her lips. Okay. And of course, I like to add some dots around her body, and also freckles if I can have them on my characters. Because, you know, our faces have imperfections, and to make your character feel more realistic, it's a great way to I recommend putting some imperfections on your character. Makes them feel more alive and real. Unless you're one of those lucky people who have flawless skin. I mean, flawless skin is cool and all, but I really like the look of skin with like freckles and stuff. Like extra little details. Okay. Let's add a bit of chin highlight. Alrighty then. Actually, I would like to make her ears a little bit more pinkish in tone. Just a bit. Okay, there we go. Because ears are usually pinkish and they are translucent because they're thinner, because there's no organs in them, so they can appear a little bit more translucent. Just painting the ear. The ear is also pretty complicated to paint. It's one of the more detailed part of a small area of the body. Ears are one of the parts that I have most trouble with, but you know, just I think spending a little extra time working on it helps. And paint some. Okay, so we have a good base going. Just going to really fast adjust the highlight of it. You can make her a little more tanned looking. Gonna apply one last bit of shadow. Maybe a bit on that side too. And maybe here's a bit dark. Just gonna make her chin a bit more bright. Maybe add a bit of highlight this way. And I'm still trying to work out. Oh my god, sorry guys, I haven't been talking that much, but yeah, I just want to bring up that recently my style has become a little bit more not sure what's the right word. I've been trying to create lighting that is a bit more based on environments, or I guess more realistic, you could say. Still trying though. I mean, I still have a lot to work on for sure. But yeah, I just want you guys to know that I promise, as long as someone is there to support me, I mean, even if they don't, I'll still try to aim to improve. I'm always trying to improve. Okay. I think this is looking like something I want to achieve. Just gonna correct the shading here real fast. But yeah, I'm aiming for a more I guess you could say realistic feel when I shade. Of course, my anatomy is not realistic per se. I'm still going for a semi-realistic style with a bit more of a realistic feel to my shading, however. Right now I'm just going by guts of how the lighting should look. There's so much stuff to learn about lighting. It's pretty interesting. I think I'm gonna spend a bit more time working on it, but yeah, like a lot of the times it's all about trial and error, and a lot of the times when I build my style, it's pretty much on gut feeling. And also sometimes when I feel like I've reached the limit of one style, I try to think, gee, what can I do to make this look even better? And also depends on what I see out there. If I feel like realism is a better approach, I'm gonna try to aim for that. Stuff like this also, over time, if you keep painting, over time you'll kind of develop a sense of where lighting should go. And of course, art blocks helps tremendously. Why? Because art block is... So when you have art block, it's most likely due to the fact that you've reached a point in your artist's goal where pretty much you don't like what you do and you think that there's something better out there for you. So when you have that, it's actually a good thing. I go through art blocks a lot of times, but you can't think of it as a negative thing because it's actually a positive thing. So once you have an art block, just think, okay, I've reached a point where I think my current stuff isn't as good as when I used to think it is. So what can I do to improve myself? So maybe sometimes go outside, hang out with your friends, go see movies, try to get inspired from that, right? If you can do that, then overcome it, you'll become a better artist. So that's a good way of viewing art block. So yeah, do not panic when you have art block. It just means that you're improving, but you have to overcome it somehow. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I mean, even right now, I feel like I'm having a bit of art block because I don't know. A lot of the times I'm not really sure what I'm looking for, and I look back at my old style and I feel maybe I should go back, you know. But then again, there are times where I feel that my new stuff is something that I want to pursue. But anyways, it's just a matter of feeling. Like, I post my new stuff and it's great that a lot of you like it. But you know, when you look back at your old stuff, sometimes you'll be like, huh, that's not too bad. Like certain elements, I'm not saying all elements. For sure right now I like where I'm going, and for sure I'm gonna pursue it. Maybe I'll have a combination of my old style with my new style. Who knows? Yeah, just some food for thoughts for you guys. So yeah, I'm trying to keep a casual conversation on topic with art. I know before I used to talk about random things, but now I'm gonna talk about artsy stuff. Okay, there we go. Actually, I would like to paint some cheekbone on her. I think that would look sexy. And some highlight underneath. But yeah, like if you guys are confused with what I'm doing right now, I do have other tutorial that does explain some of this. However, I still think reference would be your best friend when it comes to portrait painting if you are confused with certain things. I think you'll be able to observe how certain things work, and then you would be able to apply it to your work. Of course, try to do that. Okay, just gonna smooth out this side real fast. Save it. Going to just go in here real fast and put down the shadow like I did on the other side. Okay, I'm ready. So now, step 4, we're gonna start the wet texture and stuff. Alright, so the skin is actually not too hard compared to the hair on how to make it look wet. because of this, I'm gonna create another layer and name it wet layer, wet effect. So if we go back to the reference, I just want to show you guys, always refer back to the reference because reference is good, reference your friend. So some notes: more shiny on certain areas, droplets of water on skin, optional of course if you want to, it adds more feel to it. So it has a darker tone in certain areas, just like how it affects thick fabric. Note right here, see how the wet areas is a little bit darker but also a bit more shinier, so we can also play that to our advantage. Also it can have a bit of grainy shiny texture, like here as you can see it's a little grainy, but it's like having speckle, I don't know how to say this. The shine is pretty much mapped based on your pores of the skin. That's why it's grainy, and I think it's a good texture to have, right? Alright, so let's get started with this. Actually, before that, I just want to edit this portrait. Just going to adjust the lighting a bit more. Okay, so wet effect. What can we do first? Let's add some dark highlights. So again, very lightly add a dark layer. So I'm painting this all. So dark layer. Okay, it's not looking too good at the moment. But do not fear, let's persist. So a lot of the times you can do stuff like this because logically it should be like this from the reference you see. But sometimes when you can refer back here to here, it looks like that, right? But while you paint, it doesn't look as good. Now sometimes you need to zoom out and edit out stuff. So right now, I mean, it's looking a little confusing, but we're gonna do a lot of this and we're going to edit it down later. It's always good to do too much than not do enough. Because you can do a lot more and edit it down afterwards. Same with shading. So right now I'm using the erase tool to just erase parts of it because I think I can edit it down later. So right now I'm exactly doing that, editing it down like this. Okay, so I think it's a little bit still a little bit dark, so I'm gonna use my erase tool, make it like a big size, make it an airbrush by turning down hardness to 0% and just lightly kind of just erase it. And of course, if you notice here, there's usually a bit of shine in areas where shine makes sense, so we're gonna try to make sense out of that. So again, going with a white color, let's add a bit of shine here and here because it makes sense, and maybe here, and same with the shoulder, right? And then with the chest area, and then here, and maybe here and here, and then maybe down here. Okay, so immediately it looks very different. If we zoom out, it actually looks like it's got some wetness to it. However, there's areas that looks iffy, like this area and here. Cause it actually doesn't feel like wet texture, so I'm just gonna erase it. Erase parts of it. I'm going to elaborate on this area. Maybe if I can move it in a different direction. Maybe it can go down like this. Or that one goes completely down like that. Maybe the shadow can... maybe kinda like that. It's hard to explain, but definitely helps for you to zoom out every now and then to see if this actually makes sense. So again, following the same thing, gonna put some highlight there and some highlight here. Now zooming out to see if that makes more sense. We can always keep it simple and erase a large part of it. So just added a teeny bit of this effect, not too much. So this is our first attempt at making the skin feel a little wet-ish. So let's keep on layering on the wet effect because there's so much other stuff we can do to make it feel wet. So wet effect 2. So let's keep layering it on. If you heard that, that's the cat. It's the cat. Alright, so next thing we can do is be more obvious with the dripping water. So we're gonna try to emulate that. So from what I see, it's a little bit darker from the basic skin tone here on the face where it's more light. And then you have like a shadow outlining one of the corners. And then you have highlighting the other corner. And you would sometimes have a bit of random highlight inside it. And of course here it's basically white. But it's got like shine in different areas. So let's keep that in mind and let's try to emulate that. Let's get going. So similar start. I'm gonna put some on top of her face. Okay, here it's in shadow, so we have to make it darker. Actually, so darker than the skin tone. And following the curvature of her face. And it's gonna drip down here, but I'm going to follow it on her shoulder. So try to keep it as random as you can and also darker. So if you paint inside the more shaded area, make sure it's also darker to complement that. And let's see where else we can have that. Maybe have some here. Okay. We might need to edit this down a little bit, but we have a basic of what we want. And same with the other step, gonna erase parts a little bit of it. So now it's time to add shadow on one side. Again, parts on one side. Try to be a little bit random with it as well. Gonna draw it in the droplets. And then here too. So, okay. It's still not there yet. So again, let's add highlight on the other side. Let's vary in strength in how much pressure we put on this. And the other side too. And this side. Okay. This is all observing from the reference we got. So, I mean, close up it doesn't look too great, but if you zoom out, you start to feel a little bit of it. Now it's just time to kind of apply, because sometimes there's a bit of highlight inside these areas, so we're gonna try to put that in there. Put a bit of highlight in there, and you can continue shading. Sometimes you can like blur it out a little bit, because right now I know the corners are a little sharper. If you blur it out a little bit, it might feel better. Yeah. Of course, reference is your best friend, because every time I do some tutorial that's kind of not in my expertise, I always like to include a bit of reference for you guys to show yes, it's very helpful. So yeah, I just added some highlight to her lips because it seemed like it should be a little wet from the droplets. But yeah, and if we zoom out, I mean, it's not bad. Maybe if we turn down the opacity a little bit, yeah, I think that would be good. And now comes the important, actually we're just going to erase some of it. And I would like to put some feel that there's water dripping. So against white backgrounds, usually the water would have a darker outline. Against darker shadow, the water would appear to have what's it called, white outline. So keep that in mind when you paint water. I gotta clean this up a little bit. Looks a little muddy. Just going to erase some bits in between. If you zoom out, it's not. Actually, let me change that. Maybe have some here too. Oh, it looks like she has a beard. Yeah, I'm trying to create this feeling here. Maybe it could be on the side. I wanted to make it feel like it's I think it'd be easy to demonstrate with a darker background, but yeah, let's try to do what we can for this. I think it'll make more sense if we keep adding. So right now I'm just adding some really bright highlights here. To show the water just pouring over her face. Okay. I think we might need to maybe add a bit highlight here, here, here. The key is to make certain area have very high contrast compared to other areas to give that feel of wetness. So just going over to areas and adding that in. save. Okay, so we're on step 5, now step 6. It's actually not looking too bad. Step 6 is zoom out. Okay, it's getting there. Alright, so now it's time to add like general wetness. So a bit more speckly, a bit more high in contrast, and a bit more shiny. So step 6. Oh, whoops. Okay, so that's gonna be 6. And for this one, I'm going to put it underneath both layers. So wet effect 3. So this is gonna be overall. For this, I do like to kind of go like use a solid brown brush and start creating more highlight. So how I do is similar to the hair. Pretty much you want to put shadow-ish on both sides of highlight, kind of like what I'm doing right now. You can do it for this area too, for the arm. And of course it's really rough right now, but as I've said, it's always nice to overdo than underdo and edit as you go along, right? So again, highlight stuck between shadow. So this already, if you zoom out, adds a bit of a glossy finish. And of course, let's do it for the chest, because the chest is the fun part. And I think something like this. Actually, not really sure how to do the chest in this style, but definitely here, add a bit more shiny part. So pretty much adding shadow on both sides of and of course highlight on the neck, add some shadow around it, and to the face too. The face is actually one of the easier areas to show shine, so for the face I'm just adding highlight to it. Add some highlight here on the brow bone, the nose bridge. Gotta have some on the eyelid. Some highlights there. Okay. Now it's time to edit down, so can erase some bits of it. Just keep a little bit of that feeling. And then after, let's add some specks on parts of the body that you would expect to see highlights, like on the tip of the shoulder. You would expect to see that a bit on this area and here. Okay, so of course I'm trying to emulate that grind sandpaper look. Oh, I don't know how to say it. With a lot of little textures around, right? Same for the boobs. Gotta put it on the highlight point. Of course, create that nice grindy texture. And here too. So this part is the easiest to show that it's wet. Again, grindy texture. Let's add a bit of it here and there. Right, it's starting to get there. Also here. here, maybe a bit here, on parts where it's sharp, and of course on the shoulder, the neck, the shoulder blades, maybe a bit under here, probably not too much, and on the cheekbone where there's a lot of potential for that grindiness, around here, on the nose, on the what's it called, the brow bone. Yes, the brow bone. Okay, so if you zoom out, you can also kind of see how it looks like without certain things. I actually think maybe this area might be a bit dark, so I'm gonna take that off now. Okay, if you zoom out, if you look back here, it's pretty much same principle. Certain areas a little dark. I do know we need a bit more highlight here. And here. Kind of like this. And more light over here. Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe I won't accentuate her boobs that much. Actually, it has to be done. It feels more wet that way. I'm going to kind of erase parts of it so it's not too intense. But yeah, it's a very good way to make it feel wet. And maybe a bit on her ear. And maybe last but not least, save this. Probably gonna try to give her hair a little bit of that glossy look. Okay, last but not least, step 7. I'm just going to go into the hair a little bit just to kind of make it feel like the hair is wet as well. This time I'm just gonna try to use high contrast to make it feel wet. So high contrast, light highlights plus dark shadow compared to the rest of the element that you're painting can very much have that feeling. So immediately the hair feels a lot more glossy and a little bit wet looking. Of course, you can also play on the fact that the hair, when it's wet, it sticks to your face. So you can also go with that. It actually adds extra atmosphere. And you can have a hair dangle like that. Because wet hair tends to be a bit more, what's it called? More sticking to your skin. And of course here too, high highlight. I mean, oh my gosh, yes, really light highlight plus really dark shadow equals to very, very high contrast, which I think creates that look, the wet look we are going for. And of course we can put some random strands here and there. And yeah, kind of like this. So if we zoom out, the hair fits more with the atmosphere that we're going for. Yeah. And last but not least, want to do one more thing, wet effect. Okay, just gonna use a airbrush here, kind of going over it real fast to add a very soft highlighty feeling to it. Maybe there. And here, have a highlight there. So I'm trying to just create a more areas where there's highlights and make it more obvious. Obviously there's a thing as overdoing, so you can turn that down a little bit. And there you have it. And of course you guys can toggle on and off the effects. I'm just gonna create one more variation that's going to have everything merged down, right? And then I can adjust the lighting of it. And also gonna play around with the hair, wanna make it a little less poofy and more wet looking by straightening it. Of course, we're gonna have a bit of random hair sticking out. But usually wet hair, everything is very sticking to your head kind of deal. So let's do that for the top as well. So a little bit more close to the head. But of course you always have that one odd hair that's sticking out. Kind of like this. I really like the look of the hair sticking to the skin. I think that's a pretty good look. So there you guys have it. Wet skin. Of course, always look at reference. So yeah, it's oh, I forgot. You can put like a bit of highlight around the nose as well. And here too. And here. And of course you can put some on your eyelashes. Maybe on some of that hair, that high contrast. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now it feels like she's under the water. Okay. I think that was pretty fun for me, at least, to practice. I think you guys will have some fun with this as well. And plus, wet things look nice to the eyes. Certain wet things, certain. Okay, so that's step 8, and it's just me merging everything down and kind of editing it as a whole. As a whole layer, I really like doing that. So yeah, let's just. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was going to show you guys how to make the skin wet here. That now that we have it done here, that I showed you guys. So we're gonna apply the same effect for that. So I'm gonna call it wet skin effect. This is wet clothes. So wet skin effect, really fast. Gonna go over it on one single layer. So just to cover it, some dark outline, and of course let's add some random ones. Of course it's always good to edit down then edit up. So gonna add some wet feel to it. Of course we can have all this area be wet, and then on the leg too. Oh, okay. Let me just edit that. And going to edit it down using the erase tool. Just gonna clean up the silhouette a little bit. Like that. Make it feel a bit more random. I actually am enjoying this tutorial a bit more because it's something that I actually have not gone this deep in detail in terms of adding the wet texture to some of my characters. In some of the NSFW I didn't even go this far, so this is actually pretty interesting for me. And I'm going to erase parts of it because it's a bit dark. Gonna make it a little more subtle, and then I'm going to start adding some highlight to it. So just some general highlight. Here and there. Adding, it gives the effect of a wet stream on skin. So just go for that. I'm doing it pretty roughly, but if you have time, definitely spend time on that. Oh wow, I just repeated that. It's interesting. Okay, and then a bit on the side too. So that's step 1. Create random streams. Okay. Oh yeah, I haven't done water droplets yet. Oh well. Water droplet has a similar effect, so all you're gonna do is add like little pockets, but on the bottom side is gonna be the shadow, and then you add the highlight up top. That's the basis of like adding little droplets on your skin. Obviously, it's a little small for me to paint it out, but it gives you a general idea of what it should look like. And of course I'm adding that grimy texture to the skin. In areas where there's a sharp line, as well as areas where it's round on the body, like the shoulders, also the chest, and certain areas too. Areas where you would find a nice like soft shape, also here. And then the hips, a little bit of it on the hips. On the arm too. And then the leg for sure. So gotta put that there. Also I'm going for a grimy texture, so I'm gonna just dot. A lot of dotting. Cause you know, people it feels a little more realistic when you dot it, because our skin have pores and it would make more sense that way. So now sometimes you can just dot random areas and you'll feel like it's sufficiently moisturized. Trying to make it sound less dirty. This whole tutorial is kind of dirty. Sounds dirty anyways. But anyways. Okay. So that's one step. Now I'm just going to go in real fast with a lighter color and just give it that extra highlight here too. Just that extra bit of highlight. Also, you can make it more contrasting by shading both sides of it with darker color, right? Just like the hair, just to create more contrast. So you really want to emphasize that highlight? Go for it. But now, since it looks, I used airbrush, I gotta clean it up so it doesn't look too airbrushy. Anyways, I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. Made the skin wet, so now it makes more sense that her clothes is wet as well. So yeah, there you guys have it. That was actually pretty fun for me to demonstrate. I should make her face wet too, actually. I should do that, actually. I'm gonna do it really fast. Just very fast. Wet skin. I might as well go all out. I might as well complete the set. Okay, wet hair, wet skin. So I'm gonna put the wet skin on this layer. Okay. Again with this. Let's add the speckles. Just a bit of it here and there. On the lips as well. Lips are pretty easy to make shiny. Just Google lip gloss and you'll get it. So now is the perfect time to add that feel where water is dripping down your chin. Very random, I know. But yeah, keep in mind that there should be shadow on this side when you do that type of stuff. Actually, should be on the other side. So shadow on this side and highlight on that side. That highlight is way too much, but yeah, something like this. And of course we can edit stuff down. We always need to edit stuff down when it comes to stuff like this. Chances are it'll be too crazy looking. A bit of highlight in here. And then what else can we do? Actually, let's define the nose a little bit so we can add more highlights. Shadow to add more highlights. You need shadow to be able to create highlight. A bit on her, what's it called? Her eyelid. But yeah, pretty general things to keep in mind. Add a bit of a wet feel. Need contrast for that, so some contrast for it, and line it up with now I'm just rambling, sorry guys. So now I'm just trying to add speckles using the color white as highlighting color. Okay, so now if I zoom out, actually maybe we'll just have a little bit of a drop but not too much. Okay. If I zoom out, it does have a bit of that wet texture, so I think this is good enough. Anyways, that was that for wet surface effect, hair, clothing, and skin. I hope you guys enjoyed that and learned something from it. Yeah, have fun with it and feel free to use my base to follow along. and follow along with the tutorial. Pretty much with the base I've provided here, you can just take it from this file. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Definitely try it out on your own character if you can. But yeah, this is actually educational for me as well as hopefully for you guys. So yeah, have a great day guys, and I will see you guys in the next voiceover tutorial. Have a great day.